All right, so good morning. The Parsha this week is Tetzaveh, and we get more commandments, and most of the commandments are around the priestly vestments and everything that Aaron is going to wear, from the robes and the tunics and the pomegranates and the bells. We get all the information about the breastplate and the ephod and the Urim and Tumim, which are divinatory tools to know God's will. And I know you think I'm going there, but I'm not, because you know I love all the mystical and the magical. But I'll save that for Torah study. What I wanted us to look at for the practice, though, today, hi, good morning, you guys, is there are two things in the Parsha. The first is that we get the commandment to have a ner tamid, which is the light, the candle, that should always be lit forever and ever for all generations from this moment on, right? So we're supposed to light a candle at the entrance, at the outside entrance to the tabernacle. So I want us to talk about and look at that. And then the second thing is that we also get, as part of all the vestments of what Aaron's supposed to wear, we get this headpiece that he's supposed to wear. And on the headpiece, it says, kadosh la'Adonai, which is holy to God. And he wears it on the head, not at the belly, not on the wrist, not at the ankles. Like, there's a significance to why this is the highest, most elevated thing. And he wears it with a sash that connects it like right over his forehead, which yogically we know, the third eye, right? And this third eye point is thought to be where everything is directed. Again, look, even how my hands want to go, like it's all directed upwards towards this point, like a candle, like a flame, that everything comes to this place where there's illumination. So I feel like those two things are related to each other. The Sfat Emet has a teaching about the Ner Tamid, and he links it to the teaching in Proverbs, which comes from King Solomon. In Proverbs, it says, Ner Adonai nishmat Adam, chofes kol chadrei vaten. That's actually at Bet Torah, is written over the ark. Ner Adonai nishmat Adam. And what it means is that the human soul, our embodied soul, is the candle of God, which, it goes on in Proverbs, which searches the inner chambers. Which is very mystical, obviously. So I guess what I wanted us to look at in the practice today is this connection between light, our soul being that light, that candle, and that like somehow like it all connects, and that with holiness, right? It connects back to holiness, and it connects back to what we studied last week, which is build this mikdash, build this sanctuary, and God will dwell there in that sanctuary. That's repeated again at the end of the Parshat this week in Tetzaveh. Again, it says the same thing. It says, like, asu mikdash v'shachanti betocham, and it continues. It says, and I will dwell among the people, and I will be their God, and they will be holy to me. So something is connected, and it's gray outside, and there's no sunlight, and there's no. So I thought we would do a practice where we try to connect with ourselves as a source of light, connected to the eternal light, right? How do we bring that light about? How do we shine that within our body, within this sanctuary of our physical body, of our physical space, connecting to our own holiness. I don't know, how's that sound for you guys? All right, yoga practice. What do you guys want or need today?
A little lower back.
Yeah, I've been feeling that too. I think from the cold, we're not walking as much outside with the ice and the cold and the like stiffness. And anybody else feeling like low back stuff, right?
Stiff, just general stiff.
Stiff. Okay. Okay. So let's see if we could bring some light, some flow into the body. All right, let's start. Why don't we just start with a little bit of opening of the hips. You can exhale, you can groan, you can make whatever noise you need. Yeah. All right, walk the fingertips forward. Depending on your flexibility, wherever you can go, you want to let the chin drop to the chest. Let the forehead drop towards the floor. But use your hands to push into the floor so that you're actually pushing your sit bones and your tailbone back down onto the ground. Don't like roll off the sit bones and lean forward. Ground yourself through the sit bones. So you may even feel like you're creating like a little bit of a dome in your back, in your upper mid back. I'm going to suggest that anytime we're in a pose where you choose to close your eyes, that in that moment of closing your eyes, you actually draw your inner gaze towards that upper inner chamber at the third eye point. And maybe what you visualize there is a flame, a candle flame. So let's just play with that internally throughout the practice. Good. From here, just walk your hands all the way off on one diagonal. And then that opposite hip wants to roll up, but really, again, press that sit bone down. Drop the shoulder, drop the chin to the chest. Just stretch out of the side waist. And then coming through the center, walk the hands all the way over to the other side. You'll feel that really nice stretch out of the side ribs. And then try to drop that elbow and shoulder down. Let the chin relax to the chest. And come back through the center. Let's walk ourselves up. Good. We'll stretch a little and then we're going to meditate. We can't do this practice with the tamid and the, kodesh l'Adonai without meditating, but let's just stretch first. Okay. So yeah, just open up the hip. Low back stiffness is a tricky thing, right? Because is it from the outer hips that are tight? Is it from the hip flexors that are tight? The IT band, everything connects. So sometimes it's the mid back that's locked up and that's causing strain on the low back. So we'll just try to get into a little bit of all of it. Sometimes it's just that the core is a little weak, that we're not using and accessing our core strength. So our low back is just taking a lot of the brunt. Let's cross that ankle over the thigh. Just flex through both feet. And you're just you may not get very far. You may want your blocks nearby for this. Yeah. So we're just wherever you are, the blocks make it really nice. You could put the blocks on a level where you can then rest your forearms. And then from there, the upper body can relax, even though the lower body is, in a place of a little bit of intensity. You want to be at your edge where you're stretching. Good, breathe. So I'm going to ask you to try something in this pose. Close your eyes. I want you to engage your pelvic floor muscles so that you feel like you're doing a little bit of a lift of the pelvic floor muscles. Instead of just sinking everything down to the ground, there's this feeling of engaged containment at the core base of the the pelvic floor. And then from that engagement, so it feels a little bit like a Kegel, right? From that engagement, gently draw the belly in to the back of the spine and a little bit up, like you're almost trying to lift the belly button up out of the pelvic bowl. Good. And then from there, I want you to think about as if you're pulling that energy up to your third eye point, and you can just focus, gaze at your third eye. So you're engaged at the pelvic floor, you're engaged at the belly. There's this feeling of lengthening out of those places up to that third eye, and you're just going to gaze at the third eye. You can open your eyes. You can come up out of that pose, either blocks behind you or hands to the floor, whatever is working for you. You're going to bend that knee so the foot is on the floor. Just hang out here for a minute. This is a little bit of a pigeon, right? Are you feeling this in the glute? Yeah. Oh, that's the one you need. So now we know, right? Remember I said sometimes the low back, you're not sure where the tightness and where the tension's coming from. So this is coming from that glute being locked up. Okay, so just kind of hang out there for a minute. Why don't you just do a little side to side here too? When you go off to one side, if you start feeling like, oh yes, that's really tight too, then that's your outer hip, and you might even take your hand there and just kind of take your fingertips, just kind of rub side to side in that, and notice, is that sore? Are you feeling how sore that is? If that's sore, then that's your outer hip joint, right? So that's information for you. And if you have a foam roller at home, if you have tennis balls, we can go work there. All right, from here, if it's okay and healthy on your wrists, you're just gonna, fingertips are facing forward towards your toes. You're just gonna press down into your arms, straighten up the arms, and just lift the hips up. Yeah, you can keep your gaze forward, keep your neck, chin tucked. Yeah, if your neck is really healthy and you want to open your throat, by all means, you can let your shoulders be a little shelf for the head and lean the head back, opening up the throat, opening up the heart. Feel like your shoulder blades are pulling together so that you're creating a shelf for your heart, the back of your heart to rest on, so the front of the heart can open. Whew. And then slowly, slowly, slowly lower down. Ooh, I don't know, that got me heated up. I don't know about you guys. Did that heat you up? Yeah. All right, take your feet together. We're going to do the other side, but take your feet together. Just shake out your inner hips here and just circle through your wrists. All right, let's take the opposite leg forward. And you're going to come here and just, yeah. So much of our lives as women especially, we fight against our physical body and we have a lot of messaging that we take on from our culture, from our own mothers, from our, friends, that our body isn't holy, And I really like this idea of coming back to no, you are holy. You're holy to God exactly as you are, your body, your spirit. You're gonna lower that ankle. And we're going to go into that pose again. And again, I'm going to invite you, once you get into the pose, use all your good alignment, stretch through the feet, flex the feet. Yeah. Find where you're feeling it in your physical form first, but then go into that more energetic level of the pose where you draw the pelvic floor in and up, you draw the belly in and up, and it's like you're bringing all of that energy up, 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 up through the wick of the spine, the wick of the candle, and then you're lighting a flame at that third eye. kadosh l'Adonai. Notice that it takes some discipline to choose what you're being mindful of in the pose, because there are physical sensations happening and you can absolutely be mindful of those. There are sounds outside of you happening. You could be mindful of what your senses are showing you. But you can also guide your own mind intentionally to focus at the point of that upper chamber, at that point of connecting to whatever is really dancing there behind the forehead. And you can sit yourself back up in that pose. We're going to take that, see how this side feels for you. So that kind of seated. Now, if your foot is farther away from you, you'll have a little bit easier time, right? That's a little bit less intense of a stretch. The closer in you bring your foot and the more you lift and lengthen out of your low back. So the tendency is if you go too close and you don't have the flexibility, you're going to dump into the low back and round. So you want to find the place where you can kind of, again, pelvic floor, root lock, lifting and lengthening through the belly, lifting and lengthening up through the heart. So we're getting ourselves as tall as we can get here. It's like being rooted and grounded, but drawing that light up, right? Yeah. So the nature of fire is actually upwards versus earth, which is very heavy, solid downwards. But you need both. You need to get grounded, but then lift and elevate from that place of grounding so that you're bringing the pose higher. From here, hands point forward. You're going to lift. Smile, enjoy this. We're strengthening the arms. Try not to lock out the elbows. Keep a slight bend in the elbows so that you're really engaging muscle, right? Feel all of the arm muscles squeezing in towards the bones. Stretch across the fingertips. See if you can lift your hips up just a bit higher. You're strengthening the glutes here and opening up the front of the hips. Good. And then slow, slow, slow. Lower back down. All right, let's do a little playing. You're going to take your hands. Yeah, you can do that. This is may or may not be for everyone. Just see where it takes you. We're going to roll, take your hands to the front of your shins, and you're going to let yourself roll back and roll up. That's what we're playing with. So you just want to, again, you can close your eyes here. You can go inside. See where this feels good. Good. The next time you come up, you're going to try to balance on your sit bones and keep the feet out in front of you. So you're coming up to a balance. Yeah. Take your palm space up. Squeeze your inner thighs together, knees together, ankles together. Hold yourself here. You're going to try to extend. And bring it back up again. Yeah. So see if you could do a few of those. A little bit of core here. Yeah. You're trying to keep your chest open and broad. Think about those. You're trying to lift up out of the low back. Good. And then you could just come onto your back, hug your knees to your chest. Good. And let's just take a little happy baby here. So you can separate the feet. The heels are reaching towards the ceiling. You can either hold the pinky toe edge, or you can take a little yogic toe lock where you wrap your fingers around the big toes. The knees are dropping down towards your armpits. Yeah. And let's do a little inner thigh stretch here. So you're going to extend one leg out towards straight. You might not get to straight. That's okay. Yeah. And the other heel comes in. Just stretch the inner thigh. Good. Rebend that knee and go on over to the other side. Good. Let's bring both feet up towards the sky. Point the toes. And then flex through the heels. Do that a few times. I think we're going to work towards a candlestick pose, which works with our theme. I know it's a little kitschy, but you know, we're going to become nerot. We're going to become candles. We'll work towards that. So that's in yogic speak, it's a shoulder stand, but we're just doing the inversion here. Okay, good. You're going to drop your left leg down towards the ground, but let it hover. Don't let it come all the way to the ground. And you're going to take your hands behind that right leg. Just walk your hands up that leg, maybe to the ankle, maybe to the heel or the foot. Now pull the belly button in towards the back of the spine. Press the low back down into the ground. Think about really getting strong in your core. Maybe imagining fire in the belly, right? Like really like bright orange, yellow. A lot of sunshine at your solar plexus core. Good. And then slowly walk it back down. Hug those knees in for a moment. Good. And then do the other. So you're going to extend that right leg long. Left leg is up to the sky. And you're going to walk yourself up. Pull that belly in nice and strong. Good. Chin to chest. You could bend those elbows slightly outward to the sides. That's going to bring you in a little deeper. Lower back down. All right, we're going to make our way up to stand. So you can do that again if you want by rolling up and down a few times, get some momentum, and then maybe you can plant the feet and come all the way to stand. Certainly use your hands to help you get there, whatever you need. Right. Come stand with your hands at your heart center. Let's do a little bit of a standing meditation actually for a moment, because we didn't sit to meditate. So I want us to bring in this feeling of that we are the light, right? We are the light that when we connect to soul awareness, to God consciousness, there's this meta awareness that we're much more than our physical form, and that our physical form is an embodiment of something very infinite, eternal, forever, this ner tamid. So we're going to bring the hands like a candle flame to the third eye, and you can rest the back of your palms up against the third eye. Good. From there, you can let yourself close your eyes. And find the candle itself. So get rooted down through the feet. Feel the four corners of the feet grounding down. Feel some strength on the inner thighs, like the inner kneecaps lifting in and up. Right? Find your pelvic floor in space. There's an engagement again. So you're drawing energy up, as opposed to just being lazy where everything sinks back down to the earth. So this lifting in of the belly, this opening of space through the heart. And then bring your full awareness to the place where your palms are touching that head plate. And maybe staying with this mantra, kadosh la Adonai, holy to God. I am holy to the source of life. Again, keeping the eyes closed, we're just going to do some breathing here. So inhale those palms up towards the sky. And then as you exhale, separate the hands and let them flow downward to your sides. You're going to inhale, bring those palms up through the center line of the body, up past that third eye, all the way up into the sky. And as you exhale, separating the hands and letting them float back down. Do this a few times, almost as if you're casting light. So you're bringing this light up through your body. And then casting and illuminating yourself within the glow of that light. And for the last couple of rounds of this, I want you to think of emanating that light even beyond your own physical space where you are now, sending that light out wider and wider and wider. Maybe extending that light so far that it reaches your children who are in other states, encompasses them in that light. Maybe it reaches out across our whole country, across our whole planet. And then you can just find your Tadasana, let your hands rest by your sides. Just feel as if all of your body from within and without is really just vibrant, shining. You feel the energy of that at your fingertips or running up and down your arms, your legs. As you're ready, you can bring your hands back to your heart center, come towards the front of your mat. Did you guys like that as a meditation? Yeah. All right. Inhale, arms sweep up to the sky. Let's just move the physical body now. Exhale, fold down over the legs. Inhale, halfway, just flattening out that back. Hug the shoulder blades together on the back body. Good. Bend the knees deeper, fingertips to the floor. Step your right leg all the way back behind you. Come on up for your lunge. Find a place where your arms are comfortable, okay? So it could be up here. You could take that temple, what's called temple mudra, bringing the fingertips interlaced like a candle. But if that doesn't feel so good in your neck or shoulders, then feel free to keep it wider, whatever works for you here. Good. Now, press back through that back heel, which is lifted, but it's reaching back behind you. Good. Bend a little deeper into that front knee. Yep. Good. Good. And for just a breath, bend the back knee and then lean your whole, so with the back knee bent, pelvic floor lock, belly lifts in and up and lengthens. So you're lengthening the belly from the pelvis, and then you're lengthening the throat from the belly. And again, maybe here, I would keep eyes open for stability here, but just bring like you're elevating and drawing it up through the crown. Good. You're going to straighten through that back leg again. Let's float the hands down to the floor. Step back to a plank pose. From your plank, you can gently lower the knees. Elbows will bend back behind you along the sides of the body for a tricep, kind of chaturanga push-up, all the way down to the ground. You can untuck the toes. Hands are underneath your shoulders, and just gently press the floor away. Find your pelvic bone pressing down on the ground, but from that place, lift the belly in and up. Maybe those elbows squeeze towards the midline of the body, really bringing the shoulder blades together. Again, that feeling of creating a shelf that your heart can rest on. So the back of the heart feels supported, the front of the heart and chest can open. And again, you might want to close your eyes here and feel all the brightness that's really like lifting, lifting, lifting. So very lifted pose. Feel the brightness at the third eye. Kadosh l'Adonai. I am holy. My life is holy. This practice that I give myself to actually supports me being light in the world. And then lower all the way back down. Make a pillow for your head. You can bend the knees and just flip-flop them side to side. From here, we'll come into a downward facing dog. So you'll come onto hands and knees first. Before you even come to your down dog, just from hands and knees, just lift the belly in and up away from the ground. Just really just to find some strength and integration in the low belly. Good. From there, tuck your toes. Gently lift the knees up off the ground. Head hangs down. Pressing into the hands. Nice. Yeah. So take your time in your down dog. Just enjoy this inversion. And first, just find your alignment, whatever you need, like bend one knee, bend the other knee, shake your hips side to side. Good. Dina, try to relax your upper back. Your upper back is like really puffed out. So I'm wondering if you can bend your elbows a little bit more and then soften that space behind the heart, that feeling of the shoulder blades drawing slightly together. Yeah, even if you need to bend your knees a little more to do that, just to soften that upper back. Because again, the low back tension, sometimes it's the upper back that's really holding all the tension, and then that's why we're feeling it to the low back. So if we could open and kind of, create some strength in that mid back, we can actually let go of the low back. All right, from here, you're going to look up between your hands. You're going to step your right foot all the way to the front of the mat. You might need to help it get there. We're coming up to a lunge on the second side. So your back heel is up, toes are pointing forward. Yeah, bend that front knee deeply, but keep the back leg nice and straight. And you can take your arms in any variation there of your lunge and just find your breath. Find your stability, find your sense of humor. Yeah. Good. And then that little bit of back bend. So first, just put a little bend in that back knee. Stay there for a second because that's going to increase the sensation you've got going on in the front of that hip flexor for sure. But then this feeling of engaging at the root. So drawing in and up in the energy, drawing the belly in and up, and then this kind of gentle leaning back to open the energy up through the throat, up through the third eye. Good. This is building some heat, yes? All right, from here, release the hands. Again, fold it over onto the floor. You're going to step back to your plank pose again. From your plank this time, let's just take a side plank. So just roll both feet to one side. You're on one arm and you're up here. Yeah. Good. The tendency is to let this hip drop and fall. See if you can lift that hip up as high as you can. And let's add a tiny bit of oblique abdominal work here. So the arm that's up in the sky, you're going to scoop it down, down, down behind the other arm. You're going to feel that very immediately as a strong lift and twist in the sideways. That's your obliques working there. Just hang out there for a second. Feel that energy. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Good. Lift the arm back up and bring it over. If you want to do some little version of a push-up here, you can. And then we'll come to the other side. So start in your side plank. A variation for you, if your wrists are not strong enough to do that, or it just feels not great at some level, you can bring it down to your forearm here. Yep, you can also bring it to a variation where you're really just one knee down. So these are all different options, okay? If you're in your side plank, you wanna bring that other arm over and under and lift the belly, squeezing. Find your breath here. Find the heat and the light in your own body. Good, lift the arm back up. Bring it over to the floor. You can lower the knees and then slowly, slowly, slowly bend the elbows, lower all the way to the ground. Whew, we're doing all right. Let's take some quad stretches here. Okay, so you're gonna bend your right knee. Yeah, bend your right knee and reach back for the ankle. And you could stay nice and low and relax here. Right, that's the first stage of it. Notice if you had to kind of take your knee out to the side to get a hold of the ankle, that's okay, but then you're really, really trying to bring the knee back into alignment so the knee is next to the other. That's going to help stretch the front of these quads. Good. Now, from here, you don't even have to do anything in the upper body yet. Just find that little kegel in the pelvic floor and feel the belly pull in and up away from the floor. So the belly is pulling towards the low back, the back of the spine instead. Do you feel that? And how that intensified the quad stretch here. Okay, from here, if you want to go a little bit deeper, you can place the elbow, left elbow, and forearm to the floor and come on up. But what you don't want to lose is the kegel and the low belly drawing in and up. So if you're coming up here, again, really strong, what mula bandha, root lock, and the belly is lifting and lengthening in and up. If you're here and you want to close your eyes and keep bringing that light up to the third eye, you can visualize that third eye. Imagine yourself with that kohanic headdress. Good. Release that out. You can flip-flop the heel side to side and rest. All right, switch sides. So extend your right leg long, bend that left knee. Do what you need to catch hold of the foot, the ankle. And then think about pressing the lowest part of the pelvic floor down and the belly button scooping in and away from the floor. Maybe you can bring that heel just a slight bit closer in towards the glute. Good. If you want to bring the pose up a little higher, you can come to the forearm. so much activity in the low belly. I mean, I'm shaking and I'm sweating. I don't know about you guys. You feeling like there's a lot of strength. Yeah. And that is like yogically, that's where Agni, fire, comes from. This pulling in and up of the belly, right? That's the start of the fire. Like we kindle the flame there, and then the flame elevates, and rises up within us. All right. Whew. From here, come onto your hands and knees again. Let's do a little bit of core work just to, again, get really strong here in case you felt any stress in the low belly. So really strongly just find a tabletop with the belly hugging in. Yep. And then you can extend your right leg behind you. And 3 times, let's just do knee to nose. So pull that knee all the way in as high as you can towards the chin, towards the nose. And then extend it back behind you with the belly lifting up away from the floor and drawing in. Good. Twice more. Good. And then switch and do the other side. And then from here, tucking the toes, downward facing dog. Great. All right, take your right leg way up to the sky behind you, down dog split. You can point the toes here. Yep, before you even bend the knee and go into a twister, just take the down dog split to go as high as you can, as high as you can. Really stretching the inner thighs, reaching out through the right big toe that's up in the sky. Keep your left heel pressing back. And right here, I want you to feel like the belly button is pulling in and up. Let the belly be engaged here, okay? That's always the key to support and protect your low back and build strength in the core. All right, from here now, you can bend that knee and drop it behind you so that you're taking more of that twister stretch. You're gonna feel that in the inner thighs. Good, and then you can take a few circles where you drop the knee down, open it up wide. Good. You're gonna look between your hands, step that right foot forward. Not so far forward. We're coming into a triangle forward bend here. So the feet will be relatively close together, actually, depending on your flexibility. So the blocks can come to either side of that front foot, right? Depending on what level. You might have the hands to the floor. That's okay. So you just want to fold over that front leg. And I want you to just do a few gentle side to side in your hips. Again, you're gonna feel that into the outer hip, into the glute. And then maybe just find your peace in the pose. Really just settle, close your eyes. And here in this inversion, everything is sort of like trickling, flowing downward towards the forehead. So maybe pooling all of that light and building a flame at the forehead. Okay, a little IT band stretch. You're going to take both blocks or both hands to the outside of that front foot. And you want, just like how we started on the floor, that opposite hip wants to lift up and go with you with your hands, but don't let it. So think about drawing that left hip is still pinning itself back, but you're lengthening the sideways on that twist. Yeah, lengthening and crossing over the midline of the body. So if your low back tightness is coming from your IT band being super tight, you're going to feel that here. And this is a great pose to help open that outer IT band from the outer hip. All right, you're going to bring the self back through the center. Let's take one standing split here. So now the blocks or fingertips can come forward of you. You're going to step all your weight into that front leg, straighten up through the knee, lift your back leg high to the sky, standing split. Good, then bend that left leg and draw that knee in towards your chin or towards your nose. Lift your belly in, nice and strong. And then lower the foot down next to the other. Just shake yourself out for a moment. Woo. And then step your feet back to a down dog. Let's do that whole sequence on the second side. You guys still with me? You good? Am I heating you up on this cold, snowy day? All right, down dog. Take your left leg up, down dog split. So that feels familiar because we just did that from the front of the mat as a standing split with that leg up. Good. That right leg is still in down dog. So don't let the hip shift all the way over to the right side. Keep that hip lifting and pulling back behind you the way you would in a down dog. And then stretch the left hip toes up just a little higher if you can. And then bend that knee, open, open, open into the twister stretch. Make sure both hands are pressing down, rooted into the ground. Good, and then drop the knee and take some circles through that left hip. Good, you're gonna look forward between your hands, pull that left knee up towards your nose, and place the foot to the floor. You're gonna straighten through both legs, both feet are pointing pretty much forward. The back foot could be turned off slightly to the angle. And you're gonna fold in over that front leg. Yeah, pyramid forward bend or triangle forward bend. So engage the pelvic floor. As you do that, draw both hips back behind you. Both hip creases are pulling back. You'll feel that as a strong pelvic floor engagement. Think about the belly lifting in and up, almost like you can hollow out through the belly. Yeah, and then fold in a little deeper over that front leg. Good, you're gonna walk your blocks over to the outside of that left pinky toe and pull the right hip up and back. Yeah, the belly here wants to lift up to the right side, but don't let that happen either. Keep pulling the belly into the back of the spine and twisting at the belly to the left side. All right, slight bend in the front knee, bring those blocks forward or hands to the floor. You're stepping all your weight into the front leg, standing split. Right leg, right toes point to the sky. Keep lifting energy up from the earth. Don't just sink down. Lift, lift, lift. And then the lift is actually bringing all of that, elevating that light to the upper inner chamber of your third eye. Good, that right knee comes in towards your chin. Squeeze it in. Let the foot come down next to the other. Shake yourself out side to side. You're gonna bend the knees and actually come down to sit. Woo. All right, you guys good? Okay. Inversions get you sweaty and heated. right? They're like, we're literally, you could tell like we're generating some fire in the body through this practice, right? Which is good. Okay, so I promised you that sort of the peak pose would be candlestick, which is a shoulder stand. Alternatives to shoulder stands. First of all, if you have high blood pressure, low blood pressure, you want to be careful and don't stay too long in this pose, okay? Also, if you have any cervical neck issues, skip this pose and do a legs up instead. So the safest option is kind of what we did before, just lying flat on your back with the legs up. If you want a little more elevation, you could do what's called a supported shoulder stand, which is like in between these poses. You just put the block under your sacrum and then lift the legs up. You could also do this at the wall, so the wall supports you. So that's a completely great option to not strain the neck in any way. If you want to go into the shoulder stand, you can come lie on your back. So you guys have the alternatives. Now, if you want to play with shoulder stand, you'll come lie on your back, feet to the floor. Okay. All right. So remember we did this at the beginning? That's what we're doing. So we're going to roll the knees in towards the face and your hips are going to come up off the floor. You're going to take your hands, elbows and forearms are on the ground, rooted, and you're going to just take your palms at your low back to support. Now you could stay there. You could stay there. But what we're trying to do is then elevate and kind of like, instead of like falling down towards the ground, we're trying to lift up and your feet come up towards the sky. Yep, so depending on your strength, it might look like your feet are a little bit overhead. That's fine. The harder the pose is lengthening the toes up towards the ceiling, because to do that, you're really finding the length of the spine, right? And yeah, so this is still very much a core pose. You're pressing up through the toes. You might want to look at your feet. Notice how they look like a candle. Bringing your gaze up to your toes. And this will get your heart rate going. In the pose, you don't want to move your head and neck around too much. What you can do is put a little bit more pressure on the back of your occiput, the bone on the back of your skull. That's just going to lift your chin out of your throat. So you're not over compressing the throat or over flexing in the cervical spine. So you should have a natural like cervical curve. Good. All right, if that's enough for you, you can come down. If you want to play a little longer here, you can play with splits, bringing one leg forward and one leg back. You can also play with splits if you're on the ground or on a, with your hip on a block. You could play with splits opening out to the, like a straddle. You could play with a little bit of a twist here, whatever you want. Just make sure your neck feels safe and supported. Good. And then when you're ready to come down, you can again let those knees drop towards your forehead. You can lengthen the hands and slow. Keep pulling that belly in as you gently lower down to the ground. All right, let's just take one twist here before we go to Shavasana. So your variation of twist, whatever you want, you could take two like double knees bent over to the side. You can extend one leg and take a single leg bend, whatever works for you. Just take a little twist here. So for the rest of the practice, as we're really grounded, let yourself feel that the earth literally has your back, right? You are safe, you are secure. Into that safety, allow yourself to relax your jaw, relax the muscles around your eyes. Relax any tension in the throat. Feeling of dropping in, dropping down. Good. You can come and take the twist on the other side. And then make your way into your Shavasana. And anything else you need, it's your practice. And if you want to come back to this mantra of I am holy to the source of life, or I am a candle, my soul is the candle of God. Maybe bringing yourself back to that feeling of being fully immersed in light, both within yourself and emanating from every pore on your body. And offering any blessings for yourself and your loved ones within that radiance. When you're ready, you can stretch through your fingers and toes. And slowly bring yourself back. Shalom b'mamav huya shalom aleinu val kol Yisrael val kol yoshvei tevel v'emru amen.